Alright guys, on CC today, was testing some stuff out. I got blown up doing something I'd never done before, so I think this would be a good time to talk about what are my plans for the new exploration changes and what I plan to do, and some fits, and let's see what we can do here with like what I'm thinking is going to be the most optimal setup. So first of all, for the scan-in frigate, we're going to be going with the T1 frigate, the Heron one. It has the most mids, and it has a very important roll bonus. Your virus strength is increased by +10 with the Heron, and that's going to be very significant if you're running these nullsec exploration sites. Having a maximum of 40 virus strength is really important. It takes out a lot of the modules in the minigame and increases your probability of completing each and every puzzle to it's pretty high with a Heron that's T2 fitted. So first let's explore. Yep, first thing, gonna want a micro warp drive for sure. With the sites on CC at the moment, some of the cans are 100 kilometers off from the warp in. Who knows if that's how they'll be, but some of them are 50 kilometers, so best scenario, we're gonna need a micro warp drive just to speed things up. Now, the difference between the analyzers, Tech 1 and Tech 2, big thing here. So you'll notice they have two attributes: coercion or coherence, and virus strength. Coherence is just like hit points. Virus strength is attack power, I guess. And the difference is 10 in attack power, which is huge. So with 30 plus our roll bonus of 10, so now we're up to 40, which is just wonderful for running these sites. Now, get a data analyzer as well. Now, when it comes to probe launcher, I love running the expanded probe launcher, one, because the main thing here is that, obviously the size. Even though I'm not going to be using combat probes to, scan down other ships or anything, it has a capacity of 8 cubic meters. So you can fit 80 probes into a Tech 2 expanded probe launcher when you can only fit a full set of 8 probes in a core probe launcher. Reloading between reloading your probe launcher every system is highly annoying. One thing though is that we're in a cheap Heron, so our idea is we're going to be going around roaming in nullsec, try to get these 100, 500 mil exploration sites done in our cheapos ship. And, if we're with that expanded probe launcher with 80 sister core probes, sister core probes are pretty bloody expensive. So I'm thinking I might just go with the core probe launcher and just run with 8 sister probes. That way, when I do eventually get blown up, it's not going to be, with like 43 million worth of freaking probes in my hull, which, God, I mean, so total build cost is going to be pretty cheap if we, take that into consideration, go with a probe launcher, and only have one flight of probes, even though we have to reload every time. We have two, so as I mentioned before, the Heron is going to have the most mid slots, which is pretty dang important. So what are we going to do with those 2 extra mid slots? Some might put in, those new scan-in rigs, which they were recently nerfed again on CC. So this is the second nerf we've had to, not the scan rigs, the scan modules. So now the rangefinder scan-in module, the Tech 2 version, is only giving you a 10% boost. So we're really going to need to get that, yeah, we're going to have to use one rangefinder to get it up there, since, we're in a Tech 1 ship, so we're only getting 7.5% scan strength per level, as opposed to the 10% you'd be getting on, say, a T3 with the scan-in subsystem, or being in a co-ops. So we're really going to need at least one range figen module to make up for that bonus difference, so that we're scanning relatively quickly. And once we get that on there, what I would assert that it's probably best to use that final mid slot for a cargo scanner instead of, say, a second scanning module. So the really cool thing about the cargo scanner is that you can scan the spew containers and know exactly what the good loot is in it. So, what's going to be taking up most of your time in the radar sites and the relic sites is actual hacking minigame. Especially on these nullsec sites, there's a lot of freaking click, and it's so annoying. So we want to really take advantage of our ability to use a cargo scanner to, scan down those spew containers, find the ones that are completely worthless, and not even bother hacking those. Just leave them there for some other idiot to come along and, hack those cans and loot those cans and despawn the site. You're just going to be mostly interested in getting, the 2 to 3 cans that are worth your time, and the cargo scanner enables that. Hopefully this doesn't get nerfed. If this doesn't get nerfed, you can expect your run time on these, sites to go from 8 minutes. I'd say probably without a cargo scanner, you're looking at probably 16 minutes to finish a site completely without being able to be selective about your which cans you're hacking. As you see there's the range finding array. It got nerfed, 10% only. Get one of those on there. And next question that we're going to come into is, what are we going to do with the high slots and the low slots? So, call me crazy, but I'm thinking, obviously someone's probably going to say, we want a cloak in that high slot, right? I'm thinking probably not the best choice for, our limited high slot. We're scanning so fast, and we're going to have to be decloaked to be running the hacking sites anyways. What are we really getting out of the cloak now? Really, not that much. I mean, what we are getting is, the micro warp drive cloak trick for, gate camps and that type of thing. But if we're primarily in nullsec, we're probably going to get screwed by bubbles and dictors and hictors anyways. So, yeah, cloaks really, I don't think it's that useful. I think there's a much better use for our 2 high slots, and that's going to be tractor beams, so that we can tractor beam canisters that are ejected from the spew container closer to us, because sometimes there's these odd cans that have a significantly higher velocity than the other cans, and so yeah, those are really nice to have. Or usually the containers that are ejected from the spew containers are usually from 2 different points. So you'll usually get a small group going in one direction and then a larger group going in a different direction. But what you can do is approach the larger group, tractor in the cans from the smaller group. That way you're not having a micro warp drive around and wasting time that way. You can just sit on the big pile and pull in from the small pile while you're looting the big pile. So it makes it pretty effective, so you're going to be at least getting 50% of the cans that way. Take advantage of the tractor beam. Low slots, fitting requirements for the tractor beam, 2 tractor beams. We're going to be a little short on power grid. And let's see here, power grid's going to be short, so we're going to have to do two tractor beams and a micro auxiliary and a nanofiber. Might as well use the nanofiber and keep our speed up, our agility up, that type of thing. But honestly, in this type of ship, it's so cheap. Your biggest concern is just going to be getting ganked after you got your 300 billion is in the cargo hold. You're running around in Solvenol, not having docking rights and freaking out and trying to figure out a good way to get the freaking loot out. That does bring up an interesting point. I think really the best ship that's going to be for doing these expo sites in Solvenol is going to be the Tengu. You'll get additional mid over the Buzzard or the Heron, and you'll have the ability to be covert cloaked, have 4 tractor beams in the highs and be interdiction nullified, so you can bypass all those camps unless you run into a really nasty, dirty gate or someone that can, decloak you and point you in, the 3 or 4 seconds it takes you to align and warp out. So overall, in-game Explo for profession sites, I'm thinking Tengu is probably going to be the best bet, but, that's a little expensive, even though it's just an Expo Tengu. It's going to be, like 400 mil, but, this Heron's going to only cost us, pretty much next to nothing, less than 10 mil, and we're going to be pulling in, 100 mil off these sites pretty consistently. Alright guys, so that's my Heron fit, and I think this is probably going to be a pretty good option for, all these up-and-coming explorers who are going to get out of Odyssey, and, hope you enjoyed it, and have a good one, and, come in a week here, you'll be able to test it out for yourself and see how it goes. Adios, mofos.